Good evening, everyone. And what we are covering today, we are trying to cover the concept of inheritance. And in inheritance, we need to learn the basics. Inheritance, in which we'll be learning basics, the concept of override, abstract, interface, final, and super. So let me jump into the first one. The basic is class. When we define a class A, and if this is to be inherited, means passing on the information from one generation to the other generation. Exactly same concept is being taken here. When a class wants to define something, it wants to inherit the base from the other class. When it wants to inherit the features, the properties from the other class, it will be taking the support of inheritance. So I'll call this one as basics 1.java. And in the previous sessions, I have explained to people when it comes to classes, the class name and the file name may be same or may not be same. And as a best practice of any Java developer, you should have a class and the name of the file will be the class file which has public static void main. This is the best practice what every Java developer goes with. You can go with any name. So when we discuss about the arrays, I'll tell you the difference between square bracket on the left hand side or square bracket on the argument string like this. There is a difference. So at this point of time, it's just an array name. I usually go with V. This is indentation. Now, very basic is when there is a class A, and if there is a class B, these two are independent classes. They have no relationship between each other. So class A and class B, if I use the keyword extends, so in this scenario, B is the child, A is treated as a parent class. This is the very basic inheritance. Class A is the parent, class B is the child. We have only one keyword called extends. When we discuss inheritance and when we discuss interfaces, we will learn about multiple inheritance. Okay, so when I go with class C,
Sir, sir,
yes, Mansi.
sir, I have a doubt which is not quite related to inheritance. I just had a doubt about the indentation part. Is it as important as we use it in like Python? But in Python, it's very important. In Java, is it as important?
Indentation is optional here.
Yeah. Okay.
Since we have the flower bracket, right, a
Yeah.
blocking,
Yeah.
indentation is mandatory in your Python,
Yeah. Python, it's yeah.
but it's not important here.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
So here, this is your multi-level inheritance. Class A inherited into B, inherited into C. This is a best example of multi-level inheritance. B is treated as the child of C here. But what is that we need to remember here is even the class A has a parent. Directly or indirectly, this is the parent of all the classes in Java. Every class is a child class of object class. There is a class called, you might be getting confused with class and object. Keep it simple. There is a class which is named as object. So every class is directly or indirectly a child of will be a child of object class. Okay, getting? So this is very important point to remember. Whether you inherit or not, this is the mother class. You might get this questions a lot in your interviews, which is the base class of everything or the mother class. The mother class is object. Okay. So class A is the parent, B is the child, B is the parent, C is the child. Can we have like this? Yes, we can have like this. So now A is the parent, where it has two subclasses. A is the parent for B, A is the parent for C also. This is achievable and this is accepted. So let me try to compile this. First, let me go here. This is your command line compiler, Java C, the basics, one.java. Once you compile it, as I have demonstrated before, when you compile it, you will get the dot class file. Every file, if it has classes, it will try to generate the class files. So how many classes we have? A, B, C, and basics one. So as I mentioned, as a best practice of any Java developer, the name of the class, the name of the file should be same if it is public, and if it is not public, we usually go with the public static void main. If this class has public static void main, that's what we expect to be the. Can I have a class D? Yes, you can have class D. And if it is having main, we expect that this is the name we expect to be in the file name. But it doesn't make any much difference initially. When you have public class, we need to go with that. So I'll discuss about that one in the other scenarios. Now coming to this one, this is the basics of your inheritance. So let's jump into the concept of override. Override means inherit the method from the parent and redefine the body based on the requirement of the child. So first thing is it should be inherited, and second, it should redefine the body of that method coming from its parent. Okay, so this is an example for override. Very basic example. I'll define a class A. I'll save it as override example.java. So I'll define the class A, and this class will have public void print method, and this method will try to print class A print. Now I'll try to define one more method. I'll call this one as public void show system dot out dot println. This is class A and the method name is show. Okay, I have two methods. Now let me take an example of B which extends A. Let me take an example of C which extends A, but this class or the class B is receiving two methods from its parent. Let me take a class called override example, and let us go with public static void main string arguments A object. You have to define an object, then you can call the methods of A1, which is show. Let me compile and interpret it. Java C and Java. So we have class A and we are calling those methods. So class A print, class A show. Now when we create an object of B, Let me comment these 3 lines. Let us concentrate on the B method, that is the object B. Class B object is equal to new B. First create an object. Now this object which is created from B is a child class of A. So it has inherited the methods print. Since it is inherited, you will see the same output when you create an object of B also. But the advantage is class B did not define it. It already has inherited from its parent. Correct? You can see the output on A. You can see the output in B object also. Now let us create an object of C also. Let me create an object of C. And let me see C1 is equal to new C. C1 dot print. You'll see the same output because C and the class B are being inherited from a parent which is A. So we'll see the same output. So here it is the object of A, this is the object of B, and this is the object of C. Now what is overriding? When we inherit a method or when we inherit a class, the methods which are inherited executes the same code which is coming from its parent. Now, class C wants to redefine, means it wants to redefine the method. It's not mandatory. It's not, override is optional. If it redefines any method coming from its parent, so public, void, show. Now it wants to redefine the method coming from its parent. When it wants to redefine the redefine process, class C show method class C is redefining or redefined show. But it's not that it is redefining every method. It is optional one. What is that we need to remember? First thing, return type should be same, function name should be same, even the parameter should be same. Coming to this keyword public, I'll define that later. Since it is public, I'll just go with that public. So now this method which is inherited is being kept as it is, means it is unchanged, whereas the method show is redefining it. So what is the output you should expect? Now you should expect that it is giving you the same output which was an inherited method. The method which is called show is redefined. Is it redefined in class B? No. Is it redefined in class C? Yes. This is overriding. Redefine the method. Now you might wonder, so what if I don't extend this? No worries. If you don't extend this, now since A is a class, C is a class, it doesn't have any parent class as of now, but you have to remember one more. It extends an object class. You have to remember this, directly or indirectly, object is the parent. Now, if I try to compile this, you will get an error. Let me show you that error. This is where Anusha should keep an eye. Sorry, I interpreted it. Can you see this? Override example.java, line number 31, error. Cannot find the symbol print. But we did not get this error before. Why? Because it was having a parent. And parent was giving a method. If I don't do this, what will happen? Nothing. All the methods which are in parent is inherited into C, and from there the object is created and we are calling this. This is an example of override. There are some points to be remembered. I'll just discuss that as and when we reach them. Hope we are clear on this one. Override is optional. Can we override all the methods from the parent? In this example, the answer is yes. You can override all the methods. So to override all the methods, let me go with the other class called D. Public void print. Public void show. Now, if I define the object of D dot print D1 dot show, you will see both of the methods are overridden. Error is gone, and you can see the last two lines. Class D is redefined. The method print class D is redefined. The show method. You might have a question. So when we are redefining both the methods, why do we need class A as a parent? I'll try to answer this after the end of inheritance. So without this, even now, if you don't do this, for example, now class D is independent. You will get the same output, but this is not overriding. The print method, the show method is defined in class D. It is not redefining because it is not inherited. This is very, very important. Class D is defining the methods, but it is not redefining. Redefining can happen only if it is inherited. The first condition is inherited. If required, modify the code, and if you modify the code coming from the parent is called overriding, which is done only in the class C. And based on this example, now I can say that the method print and show is overridden in class B. The output is fine, but you might have that question, but I've already questioned you people. We'll try to answer this, why we need inheritance when we start going with event handling. So this is override, very simple. Class A inherited into B. It is not taking an effort or changing it, so no overriding, which is optional. Class C is inheriting and it wants to change only one method, allowed, fine. Here, as I mentioned, override is optional. It might be mandatory in upcoming days or in the upcoming concepts. So override is done on the method show. Class D is trying to override all the methods. So if you redefine this without this line, then this is only defining the method in class D. It is not override. If you're clear with this concept, then only I can go with abstract and the interface method. If you have questions, go back and watch the video again and come back with the questions for the tomorrow session. Now let me jump into the abstract example. Abstract method and class. So this will be an example of that. So let me save it as abstract example.java. And as a best practice, I'll always define the method abstract example, which will have the public static void, because each file will try to run the code. Now let me jump into class A. This is just a class A. Now, I can have a class A, I'll have a class X. You can have an abstract class. So when I pick the points tomorrow, I'll explain you why do we have abstract class. But let's jump into the abstract method first, and then we'll try to discuss more on abstract class. Let me start going with that. I'll define a class A. Let me comment this out. This is just a class. Class, I'll try to define three methods: public void show, public void print, public void display. Display is just a method which is declared. Declared method. Some they call it as method without body. Okay, this is just a declared method. In Java, if there is a method which is just declared without body, is called as abstract method. So concentrate on this line. First I'll comment it, and first thing which I'll be doing is I'll compile it. Java C dot Java what it is telling. Okay, so usually it happens abstract ABSTRAC. Okay, Java C dot Java. I know there is nothing to display in the main method. Now we don't have any error, right? Let's read the error. First, there is no body here. Everyone is empty, but still there is no body. Now I'll get an error. What it is telling? Abstract example.java file line number 14 error. Missing method body or declare abstract. So it is asking you to go with two options, or either have a body gone, or you should mark this as abstract. Now observe, there will be one more error. This was the error for this line. Since we have an abstract method, abstract function method, in Java we use the word method. If we have abstract method in a class, the class has to be marked abstract. You can see that error now. Always try to read the error and understand. Abstract example.java error. A is not abstract and does not override the abstract method display in A. Means when you have this, why did we mark this as abstract? Because we wanted it to be without body. When we don't have the body for this abstract, class A is abstract. Class A has abstract method, so even this should be marked as abstract. If you can relate these points, then it is great. Now we got. Now the next point. When we have an abstract class, you cannot create an object for this. Class A object 1 is equal to new A. Cannot create an object of the class if it is abstract. A very clear error. Abstract.java, that is abstract example.java file line number 21, there is an error. A is abstract. Cannot be instantiated. Start using word instance. Instance stands for the object, and the process of creating an object is instantiation. So I'll have a session on constructors in a separate one. But today let's concentrate. So we cannot create this. So what is the solution? Create a child of A. Let me go with two examples to explain you people better. I have two classes, B and C, both are inheriting A. Now it is mandatory overriding. In the previous example, we saw something which is optional overriding. Now it is mandatory. Every child of A has to override this method. But B says that, let me see that error first. Let me show you the error first. When we inherit, you'll see two errors. It is just telling you that, hey B, that is hey class B, you have inherited a class called A. Class A has not defined the method called display. It's your duty to define it. What is class B is telling? Sorry, boss. I don't want to overwrite it. So mark this as abstract. But what is class C is telling? So it's my duty to override it. So this is overriding public void display. So both the errors are gone now. Good with this? Perfect. Class can be marked as abstract even if it doesn't have an abstract method. Class A is abstract because of abstract method. Class B is abstract because it is inheriting A and it is not overriding. Whereas class C is inheriting A and its duty, it's a mandatory override, it overrides it. Who can have an instance? Nothing but the object. It is class C. Class C can have an object because it is not abstract. So interfaces and others, I'll be taking it in the next session because I have to jump into the other call. This recording will be shared once again with you people. So we have two important things to discuss. We just learned how to use extends. We learned override, which was optional. We just have an introduction to abstract. We have three more things to learn and I'll be covering it in the next session. Good. Thank you. I'll share these notes, these programs over the YouTube link so that you can download it and you can see into this, and notes will be attached to this. So I'll try to give you the notes which has more points. All the points which I said it over the call will be in a notes, the same notes. This one will have all these informations. I'll grab it and I'll share it with you people over the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching this.